This is the story of Ma Jinwol, the mad demon who once turned the martial world into a sea of blood and became the nightmare every warrior whispered about before being sealed away by the greatest masters. But 3,000 long years later, he suddenly wakes up, not on Earth, but in a brutal intergalactic arena surrounded by alien civilizations and bloodthirsty fighters who have no idea what kind of problem just arrived. Now, out of nowhere, he has been chosen to represent Earth because the other so-called hero has loose motions. And if Ma Jinwol loses, the planet gets wiped out. An inconvenient responsibility, considering he never asked to be a hero. Still, Ma Jinwol isn't fighting to save the world or earn anyone's gratitude. He's here for one simple reason, to prove he isn't just the strongest on Earth, but the strongest in the entire cosmos. It all started with a prophecy, one that claimed the summit of the world could only be reached by someone who truly understood its hidden truth. It spoke of an ancient master who once stood at the very edge of that peak, only to leave the final step unfinished. And when the time was right, the prophecy said that master would choose a successor to complete what he could not. Baek Jaeun once dismissed that legend as fantasy, but now standing alone on a battlefield, surrounded by dozens of martial artists, he knows now that it was real. With a calm smile, he steps forward, cuts down the first man in his way, and continues walking as bodies fall behind him. One of the warriors, the feared Ghost Sword, freezes in terror and tries to shout a warning, but before the words leave his mouth, Baek Jaeun cleaves both sword and head apart with a single swing. He declares that the ancient spirit from the legend chose him, that its guidance led him here, and as he raises his blade, a red aura coils around his body while he claims they stand at the top of this world. Or, at least, that was what he believed, until the ancient spirit suddenly fell silent and left him questioning why its guidance had stopped. Time passed by, and Baek Jaeun's once steady hands have now grown wrinkled. He has become the leader of both the Fire Dragon sect and the Blood Demon sect, and right now, sitting upon his throne, he still wonders why the ancient spirit abandoned him. Just then, a young man rushes in, barely able to contain his excitement, announcing that the great experiment has finally succeeded. He presents a potion and gestures toward a kneeling boy whose body is grotesquely twisted and looks quite ugly. The young man explains that the boy kneeling before them is the first survivor of their experiment to create an immortal body, but before he can finish, the boy erupts in rage, screaming that his family has been destroyed and swearing that he will never forgive what has been done to him. Enraged by the outburst, the young man grabs him by the collar and shouts him down, demanding to know who gave an outsider the right to speak. He then turns eagerly to Baek Jaeun, insisting that, unlike the other test subjects, this one can speak, endure weeks without food or water, and survive the serum's effects, proof that their work is finally bearing fruit. Baek Jaeun cuts him off coldly, saying that after years of obsession and sacrifice, all they have achieved is the creation of a twisted monster, and that fools like them were never meant to reach the true summit. Baek Jaeun walks toward the man. Frightened, the young man falls to his knees, begging for more time, and swearing that he will complete the immortal body, but Baek Jaeun passes without slowing, suddenly breaking into a violent cough. Blood stains his lips, and at the same moment, the young man's hands begin to tremble uncontrollably, and his body starts moving against his will. Terrified, he uncorks the vial he carries, lifts it to his mouth, and drinks the potion. Some of the liquid spills, and his flesh begins to warp and mutate, and his pleas for mercy dissolve into screams as he starts transforming. Nearby, the deformed boy watches in silence. Struggling to even stand, Baek Jaeun clutches the wall as he keeps coughing up blood. He stares at his trembling hand, wondering why the ancient spirit has stopped answering him. He lifts his gaze to the moon and begs for the secret of immortality, convinced that the immortal body technique is the final step he has been denied. The ancient spirit finally answers, calling him a fool and declaring that the immortal body technique is already complete. As those words echo, Baek Jaeun senses movement behind him and turns just in time to stop the boy as he lunges forward, catching him with his aura and staring in disbelief as realization sets in. He demands to know whether the ancient spirit has chosen this boy as its vessel instead of him, while the boy screams curses that promise suffering even beyond death. Baek Jaeun rages at the ancient spirit, asking how it dares betray him after everything he has done, including carrying out the great task in its place, only for the ancient spirit to interrupt and ask how he can claim the task is complete when he has never seen the truth of the world. Calling him pitiful, the ancient spirit forces that truth upon him, and within his eyes unfolds something vast and incomprehensible, shattering through dimensions and revealing a godlike existence that cracks his very sense of reality. Baek Jaeun collapses to the floor, screaming as the weight of that vision crushes him, questioning whether his strength amounts to nothing after witnessing the immeasurable gap between himself and what lies beyond. His mind fractures, and at that very moment, blood sprays through the air as the boy drives a blade into his throat again and again, while the ancient spirit asks whether the world that destroyed the boy's family deserves forgiveness at all. Red mist pours from the boy, and when the guards look up, they find Baek Jaeun's corpse lying beneath a massive crimson cloud. They rush forward, only to be swallowed by the red mist. The ancient spirit tells the boy that if he wishes to receive his help, he must crush every stronghold in the world and take their power, allowing nothing and no one to stand above him. Later, when silence finally settles, the battlefield is littered with bodies. And though the boy's face remains scarred, it has begun to heal as the ancient spirit promises that one day they will rise to the summit together. The boy turns away from the massacre and walks on without hesitation, sword still embedded in his body, an unsettling smile spreading across his face as he steps forward to claim a world already drenched in blood. Years later, an old man quietly tells his family that he will be gone for a while and will return soon. His son reminds him to take care as he steps out beneath the pale moonlight. Moving slowly through the forest, he crosses mountain after mountain without resting until he reaches a hidden stronghold far removed from the world, the secluded castle of the Fire Dragon sect. He pushes open the massive doors and enters to find several figures already waiting. He greets them and notes how long it has been since they last stood together. The figures include the infamous Fist King, the Northern Empress Julie, the monk abbot, and the great Baek Yong, current leader of the Fire Dragon sect, and a direct descendant of Baek Jaeun. Baek Yong welcomes the old man, known throughout the martial world as the Sword Emperor, and asks how he has been. But the old man cuts him off, saying he has no patience for empty pleasantries after noticing spies tailing him from the moment he left seclusion. He demands to know why he has been summoned, prompting Baek Yong to drop all formalities and explain that several great sects, including Wudong, Zhongnan, and Huashan, have been completely destroyed by a single unknown master whose identity and motives remain a mystery. Those who survived describe the attacker as a demon consumed by battle, and the name they fearfully repeat is the Mad Demon. While Baek Yong speaks, heavy footsteps echo outside the castle, and soon enough a young man approaches the hall. He is the same deformed boy who was chosen by the ancient spirit, now grown into a far more powerful figure. Baek Yong declares that today they will end the Mad Demon's rampage, but before he barely finishes his words, the door bursts open and the young man steps inside. He calmly says that he followed a powerful presence and arrived at a familiar place. He quickly realizes that the assembled leaders had been waiting for him all along. The leaders exchange uneasy glances. The Sword Emperor studies the boy carefully, acknowledging that the title of Mad Demon is no exaggeration as he senses an overwhelming pressure, like standing before death itself. Deciding that no further proof is needed, he draws his sword and declares that it is enough reason for him to wield it once more. The boy reacts with brief surprise, and in that instant, the Sword Emperor vanishes, closing the distance with terrifying speed and unleashes the Sword of Celestial Grace, followed immediately by the heavenly sword, First Strike. The combined attack obliterates the boy's body, scattering his limbs through the air, and once the final strike lands, the old man calmly sheathes his sword and exhales while the hall falls into stunned silence. Breaking the quiet, the Fist King laughs and tells him to take it easy, complaining that the fight ended too quickly and insisting he had warned everyone that the Mad Demon was exaggerated nonsense, only to stop when he notices the grim expressions around him. Confused, he turns just as a voice echoes through the hall, amused and mocking, and the boy begins to laugh as his shattered body pulls itself back together, flesh and bone knitting into place before their eyes. Cold sweat beads on the Fist King's face as he watches in disbelief, while Baek Yong realizes that the boy is using the legendary immortal body technique, the forbidden art his family spent generations pursuing, said to grant regeneration and eternal life. Once fully restored, the boy praises the Sword Emperor's attack and announces that it is now his turn. Seeing this, Fist King panics and shouts for the old man to retreat, but the Sword Emperor does not move, and the boy calmly tells the Fist King not to worry, explaining that he has already finished playing with him, before the old man suddenly collapses, coughing up blood as deep wounds tear across his body. He kneels from the pain and then falls into his own pool of blood, while the boy steps forward and asks who will face him next. Baek Yong seethes with anger, but Julie quickly urges him to stay calm and asks whether, as the leader of the Fire Dragon sect, he knows anything about the power the boy is using. Baek Yong admits that he has only seen references to such an ability in ancient texts, and that even those records offer no clear explanation of its true origin. Nearby, the Fist King stares at the fallen Sword Emperor, struggling to accept what has happened as rage and fear twist together inside him. Baek Yong notices his agitation and tries to stop him, but before he can speak, the Fist King shatters the floor beneath his feet and charges forward, determined to avenge the old man. The boy immediately recognizes him and braces himself as the Fist King unleashes explosive fist gale, driving a devastating blow straight into the boy's face. The impact tears at the boy's flesh and detonates with such force that the resulting shockwave and beam of energy rip through the air, breaking the sound barrier far beyond the Fire Dragon sect's temple. Even as he takes the hit, the boy laughs and praises the Fist King, admitting that such power truly lives up to his title. Watching from behind, Baek Yong acknowledges the terrifying strength of the technique, but realizes it still won't be enough. As the dust clears, the boy's body is already restored, leaving the Fist King stunned and unable to understand how his opponent survived, unaware that the boy had blocked the attack and grown stronger with every passing second. The boy compliments the martial art once more, lightly tapping the Fist King's chest and promising to return the technique properly, and before the meaning of those words can sink in, explosive fist gale erupts again, this time turned back on its creator. The Fist King staggers as his own power slams into him, barely able to comprehend what has happened. Abbott steps in at the last moment, crossing his arms to absorb the blow, blood leaking from his eyes as the force tears through him. The boy calls out mockingly, telling him it is not yet his turn, while Abbott fires back that arrogance will be his downfall, even as his legs tremble under the strain. The Fist King apologizes in shock, but Abbott dismisses it, reminding them that stopping the boy matters more than pride or guilt. Clearly amused, the boy studies Abbott and wonders aloud whether a body strong enough to withstand such power could truly be broken, lunging forward in excitement to test it for himself. Before he can reach him, Julie intervenes, commanding the boy to stop as she coats her blade in freezing energy and strikes him from behind. Ice instantly spreads through his body, locking him in place just short of Abbott's face. Realizing this must be the martial art of the Northern Sea Ice Palace, the boy laughs despite the cold biting into his bones, admitting that the 5 great masters of the martial world truly live up to their reputation. Baek Yong steps forward, satisfied by the boy's acknowledgement, and declares that he will now witness the power of the Fire Dragon sect. The wind spirals around him as he swings his sword in a single decisive arc, slicing through the boy. The boy looks down in confusion, finding no visible injury and scoffing at what seems like a harmless strike, only for Baek Yong to calmly tell him that he has already been condemned to eternal darkness. In an instant, talismans materialize and coil tightly around the boy's body, binding him as his strength begins to drain and panic sets in. He struggles and screams as the talismans tighten like wrappings, his energy fading until even his voice weakens. Julie watches with tense unease that slowly gives way to relief as the boy becomes completely immobilized, sealed, and powerless. Abbott asks what kind of martial art this is, having never encountered anything like it, and Baek Yong explains that it is the Eclipsing Blade, a sacred treasure passed down through the Fire Dragon sect, said to trap anyone it strikes in endless darkness. However, because it has never been recorded in use, no one knows how long the seal will last, and they must remain on guard. After what feels like an eternity, the boy remains sealed behind a transparent barrier, and 3,000 years pass as he is transported like cargo aboard a massive spacecraft drifting through the void. By the year 2600, he arrives on planet GSP in Zone 3, still preserved as a silent exhibit. At the planetary port, a man named Mark from Earth's promotion team introduces himself to the crew and warns them to handle the exhibits carefully, stressing that they are fragile. When someone asks if he is the only representative from the advanced team, Mark replies that another member has arrived with him and gestures toward a woman moving ahead through the crowd. He watches her walk toward a towering gate and wonders where she is going alone, just as she removes her glasses and remarks that she has finally set foot on the planet. She is Lena, the team leader, and when Mark calls out and waves, she curtly asks whether he came here to sightsee, prompting him to joke that until the main team arrives, there isn't much to do, so it feels like a vacation. Lena sighs and tells him he's bold for treating this place so lightly. While they walk through streets packed with aliens of every shape and size, Mark admits he never expected Lena to volunteer for the GSP assignment, especially since she normally avoids alien interactions. But she cuts him off and reminds him that the area is still dangerous. Mark argues that things have changed and that during the tournament everyone stands on equal footing, yet Lena scans the surrounding crowd and questions whether those beings see it the same way. Her thoughts are interrupted when she notices Mark already carrying bags of items from street vendors, and clearly unimpressed, she tells him he should stay inside the exhibition hall. When he asks why, she questions whether he really wants to wander around creatures that could turn hostile. And although Mark warns that calling others creepy can provoke trouble, Lena counters that the real danger lies in the fact that they are not truly equal, adding that he wouldn't understand since he's still new. Mark disagrees, insisting that disrespect would anger anyone regardless of species, but Lena cuts him off and tells him that they have arrived at a place where equality can finally be proven. Before them stands the GSP tournament arena, where a booming voice welcomes civilizations from across the universe to the greatest cosmic festival, held once every 100 years, a stage where worlds can rapidly elevate their standing through the GSP fighting tournament. Mark asks whether Lena truly came just to watch the matches or if she only said so as an excuse, and she explains that her real goal is to uncover the weaknesses of their enemies, leaving him puzzled by her meaning. As the crowd roars, the announcer introduces the upcoming match between Agni of the Ifrit civilization, ranked 900, and Panon of the Piglo civilization, ranked 9063, officially kicking off the preliminaries for Group 6. Elsewhere in Zone 3, within the Planet Promotional Hall's Z District, a worker passes by the sealed form of the Mad Demon when a strange noise makes him stop and look around in confusion. His supervisor snaps at him to hurry up and finish his work, dismissing the concern as nonsense, unaware that within the glass, a single eye cracks open and slowly begins to move, quietly observing the world after 3,000 years of silence. Planet GSP is located 500,000 light-years from Earth. The planet holds a combat tournament once every 100 years, featuring civilizations from all over the universe. The civilization that wins the tournament is said to achieve the truth of things and be liberated from all negative effects like disease, hunger, and war. The unified Earth government, GUE, has officially qualified to participate in this tournament, and their contestant, known as the strongest on Earth, is expected to easily reach the finals and possibly win the championship.
And that's all for today. If you'd like us to continue this manhwa, leave a comment and please subscribe to the channel to support us. We'll see you in the next video.